In a small apartment in the suburbs of Chicago, Michelle Turner watched her 8-year-old son Ethan eat breakfast while she held her morning coffee. As a single mother, she had been raising her son alone while working as a nurse at the local general hospital. Ethan's father had left when his son was 2 years old and had been out of touch ever since. "Mom, we're playing soccer in gym class today," Ethan said happily, stirring his cereal with a spoon. His brown hair stuck up with bedhead, and his big blue eyes sparkled in the morning sunlight. "Is that so? Be careful when you play," Michelle gently stroked her son's head. Ethan hadn't been as active as before lately. He got tired easily and sometimes seemed to have trouble breathing at night. However, she thought children often catch colds and wasn't particularly worried. That afternoon, when Michelle returned home after finishing her shift at the hospital, she received a frantic call from her neighbor, Mrs. Martha. Ethan collapsed at school and was taken by ambulance. "He's at St. Mary's Hospital." Michelle's blood ran cold. Her hands shook as she drove, and the road to the hospital seemed to stretch on forever. When she arrived at the emergency room, Ethan was lying in bed with an oxygen mask on. He was conscious, but his face was pale, and his usual cheerful demeanor was nowhere to be seen. "Mom." Ethan weakly reached out his hand. "It's okay, Mom's here." Michelle gripped her son's hand and desperately held back her tears. Dr. Patel, the attending physician, appeared with test results. His expression was serious. "Mrs. Turner, we need to talk. We found a problem with Ethan's heart. It's a very rare condition called dilated cardiomyopathy. The heart muscle becomes weak and can't pump blood efficiently." As a healthcare worker, Michelle understood the gravity of this diagnosis. "Is there treatment available?" "Fortunately, it's still in the early stages. If we perform specialized heart surgery, there's a possibility of complete recovery. However, this surgery requires advanced techniques and equipment, and the cost will be approximately $200,000. $200,000. That was more than 3 times Michelle's annual salary. Even with insurance coverage, her out-of-pocket expenses would exceed $100,000. That night, Michelle called her parents. Her father Robert ran a small construction company locally, and her mother Caroline had been an elementary school teacher for many years. They weren't wealthy, but they lived a stable middle-class life. "Ethan has been diagnosed with a heart condition," Michelle explained the situation through tears. She could hear her mother gasp on the other end of the phone. "Oh my goodness, our precious grandson." Her father also got on the phone. "Michelle, calm down and tell me the details." When she explained the need for surgery and the costs, there was a long silence. Michelle's heart nearly stopped. If she couldn't get help from her parents, Ethan might not be able to have the surgery. "Don't worry," her father's voice came through the phone. "Ethan is our precious grandson. We'll help with the necessary costs. Go ahead and prepare for the surgery." "Really?" Michelle's voice trembled. "Of course," her mother added. "We're family, aren't we? Nothing is more important than Ethan's life." That night, Michelle stayed by Ethan's bedside at the hospital all night. Her parents' words echoed in her heart. She felt grateful once again for having blood-related family. Ethan's surgery was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Michelle worked with the hospital's social worker to process insurance paperwork and payment plans. With her parents' help, her financial anxiety was greatly reduced, but there was still a mountain of preparation for the surgery. "Mom, will my heart really get better?" Ethan asked while reading a picture book in his hospital bed. His condition was stable, but vigorous exercise was prohibited, and his hospital stay continued. "Of course. Didn't the doctor tell you? After the surgery, you'll be able to play soccer again." Michelle kissed her son's forehead. "Grandpa and Grandma are working hard for you too." During the first week, her parents contacted her frequently. Her mother Caroline called almost daily to ask about Ethan's condition. Her father Robert also visited the hospital between work, bringing picture books and small toys for his grandson. However, in the second week, contact from her parents gradually decreased. When Michelle called them, she often got voicemail. At first, she thought her father's company was just busy. It was spring construction season, and Robert's company typically had many projects during this time of year. "Mom, we haven't heard from Grandpa and Grandma lately," Michelle said when she called her mother. Caroline's voice lacked its previous warmth. "Well, yes, your father's been busy. But we're still worried about Ethan. The final surgery cost has been determined."
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
It looks like it'll be $120,000. As we discussed before, you'll be able to help with that, right? There was a brief silence on the other end. "Yes, of course. Let's talk about it in detail later." After that conversation, contact from her parents decreased even more. Michelle began to feel anxious, but she couldn't believe her parents would go back on their promise. One afternoon, when Michelle briefly returned home from the hospital, her neighbor Mrs. Martha called out to her. "Michelle, I've been seeing your sister visiting your parents' house quite often lately." Her sister Lisa worked at a local advertising agency and was single. Michelle and Lisa's relationship was complicated. Since childhood, Lisa had been the favorite daughter. She was beautiful, sociable, and always the center of attention. Meanwhile, Michelle was the plain, serious older sister who always lived in Lisa's shadow. "Is that so?" Michelle felt an unpleasant premonition. "Yes, she arrives in an expensive car and leaves with lots of shopping bags. Is there some celebration going on?" That night, Michelle called Lisa. "Lisa, I heard you've been visiting Mom and Dad's place often lately." "Oh, sis," Lisa's voice was bright. "It's been a while. How's Ethan doing?" "That's fine, but is there something special going on?" "Special, well, various things. I'll tell you the details next time. I'm busy, so talk to you later." The phone was hung up abruptly. Michelle's anxiety only grew. On Tuesday morning, 1 week before the surgery, Michelle was called to the hospital's accounting office. "Mrs. Turner, we need to discuss the surgery costs," the woman from accounting held papers apologetically. "Regarding assistance from your family, we haven't received an official commitment letter yet. We need it by the day before surgery, so please confirm." Michelle frantically called her parents. But again, she got voicemail. After leaving a message, she decided to go directly to their house. When she arrived at their house, an unfamiliar red sports car was parked in the driveway. It was Lisa's new car. When Michelle rang the doorbell, Lisa opened the door. "Oh, sis. What's wrong?" Lisa was wearing a new expensive brand dress, and an unfamiliar diamond necklace sparkled around her neck. "Are Mom and Dad here? I have urgent business about Ethan's surgery." "Wait a moment," Lisa called toward the back of the house. "Dad, Mom, sis is here." When her parents appeared in the living room, their expressions were clearly uncomfortable. Caroline wouldn't make eye contact, and Robert cleared his throat while crossing his arms. "You must be tired, Michelle." Her father's voice was more distant than before. "Dad, I got a call from the hospital. They need a commitment letter for the surgery costs. It seems it hasn't been submitted yet." Another heavy silence fell. Lisa spoke up. "Actually, sis, I talked with Mom and Dad about this." "Lisa, you be quiet," her mother unusually scolded her daughter in a stern tone. "What? What discussion?" Michelle's heart began to race. Her father finally spoke. "Michelle, I'm sorry, but the assistance matter has become a bit difficult." "What do you mean by difficult?" "Well, there was a sudden expense at the company, and we can't prepare the full amount right now." Michelle couldn't believe her father's words. But Dad, you promised you would definitely help. Ethan's life is at stake. I understand. So let's think of another way. Taking out a loan or... The surgery is in 1 week. There's no time to find another way now. Michelle's voice shook. Then Lisa spoke up again. Sis, actually I'm also having cosmetic surgery. What did you say? A nose job. I've been concerned about it for a long time. Mom and Dad agreed to help pay for it. Michelle was speechless. The money for Ethan's life-saving surgery was being used for Lisa's cosmetic surgery. Wait, what is this about? Michelle stared at her parents. Her mother finally spoke. Michelle, Lisa is our daughter too. As parents, we want to support her so she can live with confidence. Ethan is your grandson. Michelle's voice became as loud as it would echo through hospital corridors. Of course Ethan is important too, her father said. But Lisa's surgery is already scheduled, and there would be cancellation fees. I can't believe this, Michelle shook her head. You're choosing your daughter's cosmetic surgery over your grandson's life. Lisa shrugged. You're being dramatic. Ethan's illness isn't that serious anyway, is it? Everything will work out somehow. Michelle felt her chest might burst with anger and despair. The family she had trusted for 35 years had turned their backs on her when she needed them most. I understand, Michelle said quietly. I won't expect anything anymore. We'll manage on our own somehow. When she left her parents' house, Michelle didn't look back. After crying alone in her car, she headed to the hospital. She intended to smile for Ethan. On Friday afternoon, 3 days before the surgery, Michelle was desperately searching for ways to raise funds. She applied for medical loans, prepared crowdfunding campaigns, and called for donations from her workplace colleagues. Despite working around the clock with little sleep, she was still far from the needed amount. Mom, are you tired? Ethan looked up at his mother with concern from his hospital bed. His complexion was better than before, but he still occasionally seemed short of breath. I'm fine, Ethan. Mom's doing well, Michelle smiled at her son. The surgery preparations are going smoothly, so don't worry. In reality, there was no prospect of covering the surgery costs at all. However, she couldn't burden her 8-year-old son with that weight. That evening, there were unexpected visitors. Her parents Robert and Caroline, along with her sister Lisa, came to the hospital room. Michelle felt her body stiffen. Hello, Ethan, Caroline forced a smile toward her grandson. It's Grandma. How have you been? Grandma. Ethan's face brightened. Grandpa came too, and Aunt Lisa. Lisa was still dressed expensively, carrying a new handbag. She waved at her nephew, but her smile was somehow awkward. Ethan, how are you feeling? Robert patted his grandson's head. I'm fine. I'm having surgery soon. Then I'll be able to play soccer again, the doctor said. An awkward silence fell over the room. Michelle glared at her parents and Lisa, but couldn't say anything in front of Ethan. That's right, I'm sure everything will be fine, Caroline said. However, her voice lacked conviction. Robert cleared his throat. Michelle, we need to talk. Let's talk in the hallway. I'm busy right now, Michelle answered coldly. Please. Just 5 minutes. Reluctantly, Michelle went into the hallway. Her parents and Lisa followed. Michelle, I spoke poorly the other day, Robert began. We're also thinking of ways to manage the surgery costs somehow. It's too late for anything you say now, Michelle crossed her arms. Sis, don't be so angry, Lisa said. My surgery is important too. This could change my life. Your nose job will change your life. Ethan's life is at stake. But Ethan's illness isn't that serious, is it? Lisa said in a light tone. Children's illnesses are usually just exaggerated. Michelle was at a loss for words. This sister not only didn't understand her nephew's illness but had no interest in it at all. At that moment, Ethan's voice could be heard from the room. "Mom, come here for a moment." The four returned to the room. Ethan was holding a small tablet. It was one the hospital lent to children for entertainment. "Hey, look at this." Ethan turned the screen toward the adults. A video was playing on the screen. It appeared to have been filmed in the hospital cafeteria. The footage was a bit shaky, but the audio was clear. Lisa's voice flowed from the video. "Plastic surgery. I have no intention of doing that." Robert and Caroline's faces instantly turned pale. Lisa stared at the screen and covered her mouth with her hand the moment she realized it was her voice. The video continued. Lisa's voice said, "My sister has been causing trouble for our parents since she was single, so it's only fair that I get it this time." "What is this?" Michelle said in a trembling voice. The video continued further. "My nephew's illness. She's just exaggerating. She managed to get $200,000 from our parents, so she should be grateful." The room was enveloped in silence. Ethan was confused by the change in the adults' expressions. "Mom, are these people talking about me?" Ethan asked in a small voice. Michelle gripped her son's hand. "Ethan, where did you find this video?" "I was watching videos on the tablet and found it by accident." It was Aunt Lisa's voice, so I watched it, but... Ethan was confused. "My illness isn't exaggerated, is it?" "Of course not, Ethan. Your illness is real, and you need surgery." Michelle hugged her son. Robert finally spoke. "When was this recorded?" Lisa had turned pale. "I don't know. I don't know who recorded it. But that's definitely your voice, isn't it?" Caroline said to her daughter. "Did you really say these things?" "That was, well..." Lisa was flustered. As they watched the video, they could hear a young man's voice saying, "I can't believe this." It seemed someone who happened to be there had overheard this conversation and recorded it. "Lisa, answer." Robert's voice became stern. "Do you really take Ethan's illness lightly?" Lisa finally gave in. "Yes. Children's illnesses aren't that serious anyway, are they? My sister always exaggerates everything." "Lisa!" Caroline shouted. "How could you? What do you mean by managed to get $200,000? Michelle pressed her. Lisa became defiant. "That's right. I consulted with Mom and Dad, telling them you were having financial trouble and asking if they could help. When they said they'd prepare $200,000, I decided to take it myself." "You consulted with them?" Michelle couldn't believe it. "You've been depending on our parents plenty until now too, haven't you? Getting pregnant without getting married and embarrassing them." "Stop it, Lisa," Robert restrained his daughter. But it was too late. Ethan said in a small voice, "Did Aunt Lisa take my money?" Even an 8-year-old child understood the meaning of the adults' conversation. Heavy silence fell over the room. Caroline began to cry. "Ethan, Grandma, what terrible things has Grandma done?" Only Lisa was still being defiant. "What's wrong with everyone making me the villain? I have the right to receive parental love too." At that moment, the room door opened and a nurse entered. "I'm sorry, visiting hours are over, so..." The nurse noticed the heavy atmosphere in the room and trailed off. "I understand," Michelle answered. "Everyone, please leave." Robert and Caroline bowed deeply and left the room without saying anything. Lisa maintained a dissatisfied expression until the end but was forced to comply when her parents urged her. Silence returned to the room. Ethan was staring at the tablet screen. "Mom, can I have my surgery?" Michelle hugged her son. "You absolutely can, Ethan. Mom will definitely make it happen somehow. The next morning, Michelle was called by a nurse. Jennifer Coles, the hospital's social worker, was waiting with an excited expression. "Mrs. Turner, something incredible is happening," Jennifer showed her smartphone. "Last night, a certain video went viral on the internet." The screen displayed a familiar video. It was the one Ethan had found yesterday, recording Lisa's conversation. However, the view count had already exceeded 500,000. How did this? Michelle was confused. The person who filmed it was Jacob Lee, a 16-year-old high school student. He works part-time in the cafeteria. He happened to overhear that conversation and recorded it because the content was so terrible. Jennifer continued her explanation. He said he was initially unsure what to do. However, when he learned that Ethan's surgery was only 3 days away, he posted it on YouTube last night hoping to help somehow. The video was titled, "Unbelievable Conversation Recorded at Hospital." The comments section was overflowing with angry messages. "This woman is the worst, choosing plastic surgery over her nephew's life, family shame." Such comments were being posted one after another. "But why is it spreading so much?" Michelle asked. Actually, a famous medical YouTuber, Dr. Sarah Chen, created a reaction video to this. Her channel has 1 million subscribers. Jennifer also showed her Dr. Chen's video. As a physician, she explained in detail the seriousness of pediatric heart disease and the necessity of surgery. "The dilated cardiomyopathy discussed in this video is definitely not a mild illness," Dr. Chen explained with a stern expression. "Without proper treatment, it could be life-threatening. As a healthcare professional, I absolutely cannot understand this family's response." Her video had also surpassed 1 million views. In the comments section, voices wanting to help with Ethan's surgery costs were appearing one after another. "There's something even more surprising," Jennifer continued. "Viewers have spontaneously started super chat donations. We're getting direct inquiries at the hospital too." At that moment, Michelle's cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Mrs. Turner? I'm a reporter from the local news station. I'd like to speak with you about your son's situation." After hanging up, another call immediately came from a different number. This time it was a reporter from a major newspaper. "What is happening?" Michelle was confused. Jennifer explained. "The media is starting to pay attention too. It's being covered particularly as a case that makes people think about family bonds." In the afternoon, the hospital's public relations representative came. "Mrs. Turner, the director would like to speak with you." In the director's office, a gray-haired elderly man was waiting. It was Dr. William Hamilton, the hospital director. "Mrs. Turner, this has certainly become quite a situation," the director had a warm expression. "Actually, we've received many offers from people wanting to help with your son's treatment costs." "Really?" "Yes, we've already opened a dedicated account called the Ethan Fund. The amount collected so far exceeds $80,000. Michelle was speechless. Strangers were donating money for her son. "However, that's not all," the director continued. "A live stream is scheduled on Dr. Chen's channel, where further fundraising will be called for." That night, Michelle and Ethan watched Dr. Chen's live stream together. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a special broadcast," Dr. Chen appeared on screen. "This is a charity live stream to support 8-year-old Ethan's treatment." The viewer count quickly exceeded 100,000. Super chats were posted one after another, and the screen was filled with donation messages. "Hang in there, Ethan, there are bonds stronger than family here, let's all support Ethan together." Many healthcare workers participated, calling for donations while explaining pediatric heart disease. Several celebrities also participated and donated large amounts. By the end of the live stream, the Ethan Fund had reached $150,000. It was an amount far exceeding the surgery costs. Mom, so many people are helping me. Ethan gripped his mother's hand. That's right, Ethan. There are kind people all over the world, Michelle was crying. Meanwhile, Lisa's social media accounts were identified and under attack. Her Instagram had been posting photos of meals at expensive restaurants and new clothes and accessories. Particularly, a photo posted on the same day they had discussed her nephew's surgery costs, saying, "Today was the best day," at a luxury spa, was discovered and drew concentrated criticism. Taking her nephew's treatment money for cosmetic surgery, "I can't believe such people exist," such comments flooded in, and Lisa's account was made private. However, many people had already saved screenshots, and her extravagant lifestyle continued to spread. The next day, Michelle's workplace hospital also received many inquiries. Her nursing colleagues also knew about this incident. "Michelle, that must have been terrible," senior nurse Margaret spoke to her. "But having so many people support you and Ethan is truly wonderful." Ethan's case had become a topic of conversation within the hospital too. Many staff members personally offered donations. "Family isn't just about blood relations," another colleague said. "Real family is people who support you when you're in trouble." That evening, there was an unexpected visitor. It was Lisa's workplace supervisor. "Mrs. Turner, I apologize. The company would like to apologize for Lisa's behavior." The middle-aged man bowed deeply. "Her statements are completely incompatible with our company's values. We have terminated her employment as of today." "You didn't need to do that, she didn't cause trouble for the company." "No, we are a community-focused advertising agency. Having such an employee could cause us to lose client trust. We've already received contract review requests from several companies." In modern society that values corporate image, employees' personal behavior directly affects company reputation. Lisa's words and actions had seriously impacted her professional life as well. On the night before surgery, the Ethan Fund ultimately exceeded $200,000. It would be used not only for surgery costs but also for future treatment expenses and support for other children suffering from the same disease. "Mom, I'm not scared about tomorrow's surgery," Ethan gripped his mother's hand in bed. "With so many people cheering for me, it'll definitely be okay." Michelle was moved by her son's strength. An 8-year-old child understood the situation better than adults and accepted it positively. "That's right, Ethan. A new life begins tomorrow." Late at night, Michelle looked out the hospital room window. She never could have imagined that the situation that seemed hopeless 3 days ago would change so dramatically. The pain of being betrayed by family wouldn't disappear, but an even greater hope had been born. Ethan's surgery was a great success. After 7 hours of complex heart surgery, his small heart was beating strongly again. Dr. Patel, the attending physician, reported with a beaming smile. "Perfect, Mrs. Turner. Ethan's heart has completely recovered. After a few weeks of recovery, he'll be able to be active just like any other child." The news of the successful surgery was also conveyed to those who supported the Ethan Fund. Dr. Chen reported it in a special broadcast, and congratulatory messages flooded in from viewers. About a week after surgery, Michelle received contact from her parents. Robert and Caroline visited the hospital and knelt beside Ethan's bed to apologize. "Ethan, Grandpa and Grandma did something very wrong," Robert's voice was shaking. "We couldn't protect you, and we're truly sorry." Caroline cried as she gripped her grandson's hand. Grandma and Grandpa lost sight of what was most important. "There's nothing in this world more precious than your life." Ethan smiled gently. "Grandpa, Grandma, it's okay now. I got better." Her parents also bowed deeply to Michelle. "We failed as parents and grandparents. Please forgive us." Michelle had complicated feelings. Anger remained, but she didn't want to fight in front of her son. "Give me time. But I know Ethan loves his grandparents." Meanwhile, Lisa's situation was miserable. After being fired, finding employment at other companies became difficult. Her name and face were already widely known on the internet, and it inevitably became a topic in interviews. Friends began to distance themselves from her, and her boyfriend also broke up with her. This wasn't supposed to happen, Lisa cried to her parents at home, but Robert and Caroline's attitude was cold. "You must accept the consequences of your actions," her father said sternly. "This is the price for taking your nephew's life lightly and betraying your family." "But I'm family too, aren't I?" Lisa protested, but her mother shook her head. "Family is a relationship where people support each other. What you did was unacceptable for a family member." In the end, Lisa was abandoned by her parents too and had to rent an apartment and live alone. She also had to give up her dream of cosmetic surgery. 3 months later, Ethan had completely recovered and returned to school. He became more active than before and rejoined the soccer team. When he scored in his first game, not only Michelle but many supporters who had gotten to know them through the Ethan Fund came to cheer in the stands. "Mom, we have lots of real family," Ethan said after the game. Michelle hugged her son. "That's right, Ethan. Family isn't just about blood relations. People who care about each other and support each other in times of trouble are real family." The Ethan Fund continued afterward and was used to support children suffering from similar illnesses. Michelle became involved in running the fund as a volunteer and met many families. One day, Michelle was organizing old photos. Looking at old family photos taken together, she thought, even family with blood relations is meaningless without real bonds. Conversely, even without blood relations, if there's true love and support, that becomes real family. Ethan now spends every day with a smile. He hasn't forgotten his gratitude to the kind people around the world who supported him, and he says he wants to become a doctor in the future to help children with similar illnesses. Michelle smiled as she looked out the window. Through storm-like events, she had learned life's most important lesson. True family is something you choose, and it's a relationship where you can support each other in truth.